All right, hey guys, Sam back with you here on Tuesday, October 30th. And again, as I remind you, on Tuesdays we look at traditional assets and we pulled the members. And next up, we have a look at the dollar to the Swiss franc. Now, we looked at this a couple of weeks ago. We're getting some development here. So I'm just going to do a quick review on this since it's maybe 2 weeks ago we were looking at this. So let's just start here so I'm on a 3-day chart here. So as I will remind you, whenever you're looking at foreign exchange, you really want to get a long-term view on where we are. This is longer-term trading like this is where the monster money is made. So I would always encourage you to, at the very least, start with a daily, right? I like to go to the 3-day to get the very big picture, and I'll show you why. So if we sit here, we work from this absolute low here. I'm just pulling from that to that first pivot high here. Well, we get this craziness. Now this was a surprise central bank move here that we were going back to 2015 when that happened. Right, that was an anomaly in the market. But if I just look here, we went down to the 50. Yeah, we got through it. Right, the 50 holds it, and we've got a target up here. So any algorithm that started buying here is still long. They will stay long. If it takes 10 years, they'll stay long until they get that. Right, or they get stopped out, one or the other. So you look at that and go, boy, they've made multiple tries there, and we can look here so you can just see what we're doing right now. Let me get this will be better. So if I look at just where the price is right now, do you see how many times? So support, didn't quite get there. Resistance, yeah, we're poking through resistance. So this is the 1, 2, 3, 4th time that we're testing this level, trying to get through. Well, you look here and go, why can't it get through there? Right? We got a target here. We know that they want to get there. Why can't they get through? Well, remember, there's always an algorithm on the other side of the market. Right? Always, right? Unless there's not a 50 there. So you can look here and you see, well, let me get this off of here so we can get that out of the way. So you can see, do you see what we're running into here? So swing high, swing low, golden zone. They can't get through that, right? So you have a true fib fight, right? So we're going from both directions. So we've got this guy looking for this target. We've got this guy looking for a target way below, right? Here's the longer term short target. So the algos that sold here, defend here, they're anticipating it way down here. They're in that trade. Now, one of the two is going to break, right? It's always one side breaks. But this has been going on for a hell of a long time. We're going back to 2009 here, right? That's still in play. That's fine. Could a human being do that? Right? That's pretty tough to stay short through all of that, but there it is. That's why they use algorithms. Okay, so just with that review, we know why we keep running into resistance here, and now we're at this what seems to be a pretty significant level here in the market as we're coming up here to this level that's been tested repeatedly. All right, so let's go down to the hard right edge and see what we can. Well, you can see this right here. So if I just pull from this swing low to this swing high. Right, you see it? No. So we don't quite make golden zone, but that's also there, right? So even here on the 3-day, you can still see this, right? So from this, they've got a target to get right up here to challenge those highs again. First, we've got to get through this resistance that it's clipping into now for the 1, 2, 3, 4. You can make the case 5, 6, 7 times that's been tested, and they haven't been able to get through. Well, they're challenging it again. So part of the reason to look at this from this longer-term perspective is that well, let me phrase it this way. I wouldn't want to be a buyer right there. That's so yes, we have more distance to target, but that's some pretty stiff resistance. So let's go down. I'll pull this off, and we'll go down to, we can go at 4 hour. All right, so things are going to look a little different. All right, so here we see this obvious level of resistance we have up here that we've been challenging, struggle to get through. Here's the pull I just did now on the hourly. So if maybe I'll use that absolute high. So let's get that off. You get the idea. All right, so we look here and we go, okay, well, we know we've got targets up here. So, this is a little bit of a judgment call. Are we using this pivot here? This looks like, if this is correcting, this looks like we've got more of an ABC type of structure there. So I would do two things. So for anytime I see this, right? So if we're going to move higher, I would check Well, I would check both of them. This is the absolute high. Let's see how this looks here. Okay, so, right, do you guys see the importance of these? All right, so we have here, it's not golden, but we have a corner pocket trade here, right? So here's the pivot, and the caveat is, as long as this pivot holds, right, we have 80% probability of making the median line. As I am recording this, that 80% is being realized right there. Right? Do you see that? Again, I promise you that's not random. So we look and go, why are we running into resistance there? Well, you could say, well, it's been tested multiple times, hasn't been able to get through, but that is not insignificant. Again, as I remind you, there are no coincidences technically in the market. So there we go, 80% realized. One more reason that I would not want to be a buyer, even though I still have this potential up here. My expectation is likely we get some sort of a pullback here. So this is that's even on a 60-minute, that's a pretty substantial move here. So if this is trading, if this is a one wave, and even it's kind of, it's not a great looking count because the subdivision here, I suppose you're gonna have to dig down here on a smaller time frame. You got some sort of a 3, 4, 5 to get that up. So boy, it's not a great looking Elliott count, right? So this does not look like much of an impulse. Now the other thought is you might have, I know this is going to be there. We might have this. This could be our 3. This could be our 4. So we have a double top into the 5. Where's the 2? Right? So probably back here. All right, we'd have to go all the way down here trying to get a count on this. So now you rethink it, right? So maybe that's what we've got here. So this is in the zone here where we'd be looking for the 4, but this is, a double top into the 5. Does it happen? Sure, it happens. You don't love it, but if I'm forced to put a count on this, that's how I would count this. So this would be potentially now the 1. We get an ABC into the 2, sets up the corner pocket. Now we're getting resistance here. And it looks like you could probably squeeze a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of that. So if this on the larger degree, we might look at this and say, okay, I've got a contender as a 1, 2. I got to put some placeholders up here. Now let's change some color and get up a degree or 2. So we can go sub minuet. Okay. So possible we've got a contender here for a 1 wave, a 2 wave, and then coming out of that 2, right, we've just realized the 80% here. This is potentially now the 1 wave of the 3rd wave. So if I go down, let's go down here and get it. So it makes sense. Okay. All right. So there we go. So potentially now 1, 2, it's kind of, this is, I don't love that here, but there's no better way to count this. Even if I go here, look at my 1, right? So where's the 2? Right at the 50. So you can see here's the algo play, right? So here's the 50 there's their first target reaction, right? So we know an algo bought it there. We don't have to wonder about it. We know exactly what happened there. Now they're all the 2 and through 3rd, 1, 2, 3, 4th target at the 1618. So that's a hell of a move here. Now I'm on a 4-hour. That's a hell of a move in the 3rd. That's all right. So if that's the 2, let's see here. If that's the 2, how do we look on that 3rd? All right, so it's not bad. All right, so this is right where you'd expect it, right at the 38. So 1, 2, it's a skinny 2, right? There's not a lot of definition into it. 3, 4, 5. So this would have to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you've got a diagonal, as this would be your 1 wave here. So we'd have a diagonal in that 5th. This is likely the 1 sitting right there. So 1, 2, 3, or it's either A, B, C into the 3 of a double top. So the structure is not great, right? It's not ideal. Get that right on there. Okay, so this potentially now is just setting up is the 1 wave, because we know the 3rd, if we're going to get a true 3rd out of this, it's going to be much beyond just the algo target. We're going to be looking for the 1618. So if that 1 is complete here, right, as we touch the median line, if we're going to get the retracement, right, so this would be the next trade that's setting up. Again, now we don't know for sure that we've got a pivot here. We just have the potential as we've tapped the median line. So if that's a 1, then we'd be looking at this way. So potentially that's 1, 2 coming down here, 3, 4, and 5, all much higher. Let's go to green. We'll go up. So potentially now you've got the 1, 2 setting up. Now, it's a little early. Look at that reaction. It's a little early to call that pivot in, but I'd certainly be keeping an eye on that right here as we test this multiple times. Now, maybe it's got the legs. The more times we test it, the more likely it is to break, but this tacking that median line is, if we're going to get through it, we know where the next target is. We'll be up here at this algo target. Right? So that from this. So we've got a potential target there. Here's the 4 into the 5. We wait and see. So this needs to establish. So I look for at least a move. We're going to come off of that, heading towards the 23 to confirm you've got a pivot in there. So we'd be looking for something along these lines. So maybe we get something like this down for the 2, and then we're going up for the 3. On the assumption that this 1 is in, which we cannot confirm just yet. Right? All we know is so far we've had a reaction there. So I'd be looking for that. If it gets through it and we go up here, then I'd be looking for the same thing here, because this would move up. Right, then this would have to come with it. Right, so this would all have to go lower. We're always looking for the 2 at the 50, right? So until we get confirmation of that pivot, you stick with that, and what we're looking for is something along these lines to bring it down to correct this impulsive structure. Right, nice, clean, pretty good looking impulse here. Now we know this is a lot of resistance here, so the next opportunity is definitely on the long side. Right, but I'd be looking for it down right there. All right, so if we go up towards that, so here's your target if we're going to get a third. So this would all be much higher, potentially setting up much higher prices for the dollar relative to the Swiss. So if we're going to get a 1, 2, 3, well, 3, 4, 5 to complete the 3, something along those lines. So we would be looking for maybe a 3 like that, and then coming back down. Then we do a little ABC for the 4. We don't take out the 1, and we push up for the 5. So that's kind of the roadmap that is in play potentially right now. It's tied to this being our pivot, right? So until we confirm that, we can't quite do any projections just yet. We've got to get that, and then we've got to get the first retracement. So next opportunity is on the buy side here. I'd use this structure, all of this nice geometry, waiting for that nice 50 to come back in conjunction with this lower parallel. Pretty nice, pretty nice. All right, so let's see. Last thing we could do, just as I like to try and include these for people that don't want to get all caught up in the nuance of Elliott Wave. So let's remove all of that. Let me remove everything from the chart, and let's go down. Let's go to a 1 hour. All right, so can we range the market? Right, as I like to describe it, bringing in some Gann techniques. So, well, let's see. First thing, let's get our wolf on, which I don't have. So let me change that. We'll get our wolf range on. All right, so from here, so let's see if we can range the market. So looking down here. All right, first thing I've got is my low. I get a little reaction here, not much here. And if I push it back here, well, okay, so that looks good. So here it is right here. So here's the all right, so look here. So we get the swing high, we come down, here's a perfect tap of the 50. Now note here, this is what's important when you're using this. What's the reaction at double the range, right? Here's the 100%. So here's the proposed range. Here's the tap of the 50. Here's the reaction at the minus 50. Here's the reaction at the 100. Do you see that? You see how it just harmonically moves from level to level to level, right? We come back to the 100, back to the minus 50. Now we've just hit the minus 200. So I have good range of the market. So given that, so I can do two things here. Since I know this is my initial range that's now doubled. So one thought is here, I would pull up, well, was it this one? Yeah, I would pull up to this one. So here, so this becomes the support, right? Prior resistance here becomes our support. Now we're pushing to the negative 50, whereas the next logical target, if we're going to keep going, would be the doubling of that range, right? So if this is going to keep going from here, here's the next logical target. So coming back here to where we first identified the range, where we had this reaction, and now we're hitting the minus 200. You can leave it there, right? So because this just continues, right? You don't have to keep pushing it up. So here's the doubling of that range, right? So you get the idea. But since we have this good, so I would bring in a Gann fan here, and let's use the square. So first thing we got to do is lock the scale. Let's lock the scale. Let's work from this pivot. Here's our first interaction, right? So we get it right there. Okay, so do you see what we've got there? So I could actually take this out. All right, oops, shit. didn't mean to do that. Can I bring it back? I guess I can't. Whoops. Let's try that again. All right, here, let me get my range back on. Sorry about that, guys. So here was my first range. All right, here's the 50. We see all this reaction. Put that right on there. So let's get back to what I was after. This range is still locked. You got to check it. So if you hit auto, you got to redo it. So I would go right here. There's my first range in the market. Okay, so here's my 1 by 1, right? We're bullish above. So what I was trying to do was show you this. So if do you see this, how we're square, this, you often hear it in GAN speak, the squaring of price and time. All right, we're taking that range, right? Here's the squaring of it, and then with the 45 cuts the angle, right? Cuts the corner. So you get that idea, and then this just continues to expand as we go up. Right, so this has been good support. Note here we hit the Vegas wave, right? Remember, Vegas wave was designed for the 1 hour, right? Support, support, support. We're just hitting the minus 200. Pretty good, pretty good. So we're going to keep rolling, right? So that the other thing we could do, so we're working with our GAN tools. Work from our swing low to our pivot here, and I've got the expansion box on that, right? So let's see if hopefully I'm not confusing you here. I keep doing this. It won't let me take out the same one. So anyway, so swing low, swing high, right? Here's our retracement. Here's our target. There's our minus 25. So you see that? So this area right up here at the edge is a potential target or potential reaction zone, as that will be almost identical to the negative 23.6. Right, all we're doing is just taking that length of that swing, projecting up using our GAN expansion box, and we have a potential target there. So if I put that whole thing back together, it's locked. All right, so we come down here. Here's my first reaction right on the pivot. So if we're gonna go higher, then potentially these are upper targets here if we're going to get through that. But that's where I would be looking for a reaction. You think about where we've been in terms of that longer term trend and that resistance that we were running into. Can I do it this way? You can see that, right, as we're running into that resistance. So note what we get here. So you've got this pivot up here right in line with that negative 25 as an algo target. Right, or using GAN's methodologies, right? So we got the squaring, we've got the median lines, we've got the GAN square, we've got this prior resistance here. I don't think I can show it to you anymore. Well, here we can go over to this. So all of this kicks in. All of that prior resistance, right as we're coming up to that 0.25 upper side of the range. Right, it's going to keep going, right? So this would be this 45-degree line, bullish above. It's going to keep going. Here's the next stop. That's the minus 250. It's going to keep going. There's the minus 300. All right, so lots of ways you can approach the market using these kind of technical tools. It's just a question of where's your preference, right? So I had to kind of dig an Elliott count out of there. So sometimes, as I will remind you, when Elliott is most useful is when it's so obvious you can't miss it. Right? If you can't see it, you're like, I don't want to learn all this stuff. You don't have to use it, right? It's optional. It's helpful. I use it, but it's not essential. I could trade just fine without it. So choose your poison, all right? But you got to use something, right? And it's got to be proven, and you've got to be able to demonstrate it over and over and over again. Then you got to be able to be disciplined about doing it the same way every single time. And see, it's easy for me to show you this, right? It's different to be able to do it and execute the same way every time. That's what separates successful traders from unsuccessful traders. So, right, that discipline, right? So usually about discipline. Shit, you could flip a coin. Heads I buy, tails I lose. If you got good money management, you may just be fine, right? So that's the idea. All right, so there's 19 minutes. I'm going to wrap on that. So we've got a couple of promos going, so I just want to remind you of that. So I think there'll be a link underneath this video. Just a Halloween. We're doing something for Halloween, and then we got something cooking that we're going to be laying out the next day or two. So look for those links. It should be underneath this video. If not, it'll be on our Twitter feed. It's the pinned tweet at the top. We have our key links. If you want to be an affiliate or join us or the free discount or some of the promos, we'll always link them up there in the pinned tweet at the top of our Twitter feed. All right, guys, I may have one more, but that for the time being will be kind of interesting to see what kind of reaction we get up here. All right, that's it for now.